Hello there and welcome to this special edition of Elite FPL. Why is it so special, Steve-O? I don't know. So, I just thought for a bit of fun that one of my favourite aspects of FPL Blackbox is the predictions. I've always liked predictions. Ever since playing fantasy football, I've always prided myself on my predictions. Not that it equates to anything in the score predictor league, even though, ironically, I haven't played this season, but there's the cough again. But certainly, I do usually do okay with my predictions. And I do like looking into home form, away form, how many goals a team has scored at home compared to away, and so on and so forth. So you take, for instance, the Man United game the other day. A common theme regarding Brentford is that, yeah, they draw a lot of games away from home, but if they're in a match which is either a win or a loss, it's usually 2-0. So they either win 2-0 or they lose 2-0. It's a very strange theme there. It's the same in Liverpool. Liverpool away from home are absolutely atrocious. At home, completely different kettle of fish. Where there are teams like, I'm stating the bloody obvious, Man City, who just are absolutely phenomenal either way. However, it's mainly at home where they're scoring their goals. Arsenal, away from home, keep clean sheets. For some reason at home, they don't. It's just strange little things like that I notice. So today I thought for a laugh that I'm just going to... I haven't even... I genuinely have not seen this, so this is 7:53 in the morning, and I genuinely have not seen, or more specifically listened to FPL Blackbox yet. More specifically, the beginning and the end. So, shall we just crack on? Yeah, let's go for it, Steve-O. Let's rock, as Mr. David Brent says. Clumsy. Here we go. Let's hear what Mark and Az have to say regarding their predictions, and then I'm just going to go along with it.
Not going to lie, Mark, you've missed out on so many now. You're about 30 predictions behind me.
And I've gone below 50%, so yeah, I'm willing to call it.
Let's just we can just call the section. Yeah.
No. We'll keep going. You haven't.
No.
You're at 46%, so haven't got much better, have you? Well,
that there from Mark. No. That was Mr. Burns. There's an episode of The Simpsons. In fact, I saw it the other day, funny enough, on Channel 4, where Homer's complaining about the fact that they have too many apples in the vending machine, and he comes in, puts the complaint on the table, and so on and so forth, and then eventually Mr. Burns is like, no, there'll be plenty of apples for you. But Mr. Burns, I said, no.
This week,
it's been a bloody nightmare. Come to the fixtures. Let's just go through these. So United, Everton, first of all. I've gone for a 2-0 United. You've gone for a 1-0. I thought about this for a while because I saw a lot I liked from Everton in that game against Spurs. I thought the pressing was top tier. Some of the best pressing I've seen in any game this season.
There's a cough.
And that has been United's Achilles heel. But then Brentford couldn't really get that going against them. And United won that game 1-0. United is just a different beast at home. So I've just gone for a comfortable United win in the end.
Yeah. It's Everton not providing the goal for it, I think, which persuades me that United will win this, but I don't think it'll be an easy game because, as we've seen with Deitch, Everton can put a barrier up. And yeah, I've gone for a sneaky 1-0. I think United win.
Before anybody asks, I love these guys to bits, and I'm just giggling along because with anybody, it could be absolutely anybody. James from Planet FPL would always, he does his line, well, that's also Dan as well. You know, you've got the likes of I don't listen into fantasy football content, to be honest with you. Harry occasionally spends most of his time, again, I love these people to bits, spends most of his time just going, let me just check something for a second. Bear with me. Just 3,500 people watching him while he's just going, let me just do this, that, let me just eat a biscuit. Anyway, Man United, Everton. Funny enough, I'm very similar to both as a mark. I think this is... I don't think it's going to be as hard as Brentford. In fact, I know it's going to be as hard as Brentford. In fact, it's going to be a lot more easier than Brentford. Everton are a sack of shit away from home. They are absolutely fucking garbage. They've won 1, no shit, drawn 6, lost 7. They've scored 10 goals, conceded 24. Their last 6 fixtures, okay, they drew 2-2 with Chelsea. They drew, here we go, Bilal, 2-2 with Nottingham Forest. They lost 4-0 to Arsenal. They lost, once it loads up here, 2-0 to Liverpool. They lost 2-0 to Everton. And amazingly, they drew 1-1 with Man City. It's going to be, unfortunately, one of those where, sadly, I think that with Luke Shaw almost certain, I mean, I would argue there's about a 5% chance, if that, 5% chance of Shaw playing, and you just know, and it really fucking pisses me off that when you've actually got a defender where you think, across the double game week I expect at least 1 clean sheet, and then against Everton I expect a clean sheet, you've got him in and he doesn't fucking play. I keep banging on about this. Throughout my years of fantasy football, it's I'm going to double up on whatever defence it is, and then for whatever bizarre fucking reason one of them doesn't play when they keep a clean sheet, or one of them comes on as a substitute, and then when they both play together they miraculously concede, despite the fact that they hadn't conceded for 12 games in a row. The one time that they actually both play together, they conceded. So I do expect Man United to keep a clean sheet in this game, and Man United at home, as we all know, are a completely different kettle of fish. 1-10, drawn 3, lost 1, scored 25 goals, conceded just the 8. Those 6 fixtures, 1-0 against Brentford. They drew 0-0 with Southampton, beat Leicester 3-0. They drew 2-2 with Leeds, a bit of an anomaly there. They beat Crystal Palace 2-1, and they should have won 2-0, and they beat Man City 2-1. I agree with both as a mark, and I'm stating the fucking obvious here. I'm probably going to go 2-0. I think that Man United have got enough in the tank to be able to win that. And I'll be honest with you, I've said this before and I'll say it again. If your double game week player blanked, whether it was your captain or just a player, and then they got a decent fixture up next, 9 times out of 10 they always seem to return. So Fernandes owners, he's probably going to return. In fact, sometimes what I've noticed as a pattern is that you're better off almost captaining them in the single game week. So Jason, for an example, or anybody else that captained Fernandes, and he blanked across the 2, I bet you he gets a double-digit haul against Everton, but none of us will captain him. So We'll obviously we'll find out tomorrow lunchtime. I won't see the game, but we will find out. Anyhow, on to what's the next game here? Aston Villa versus Nottingham Forest.
Don't see Everton scoring.
This will be interesting from Mark.
Villa Forest, very rare for you to go for a Forest loss, but you have. You've gone for 2-1 Villa. I've gone for 3-0 Villa.
We're so poor away from home. I mean, when is it going to change?
3-0.
I mean, it's just so frustrating because at home you can see the fight in the players, and they've at least got an idea and a system of how they want to play, and it's all about obviously countering. But away from home, you'd think counter-attack would be effective, but we're just so meek. We lack so much confidence, and when we do win the ball in transition, we don't do it with any degree of bravery. I mean, for me, I think Shelby's got to play. I think Shelby's one player that has got. He always looks for a killer ball, maybe sometimes, but at least he shows courage when he's in possession. He looks for a pass that's going to be incisive. Where we got so many players who just look to pass sideways or pass back, and we end up just passing it back to the centre backs for the full backs to eventually just knock it long. There's no building through midfield because none of the midfield want it. No one wants the ball. Shelby's the one who at least comes and gets it, looks up and tries to find an incisive pass. So for me, let's play Shelby. I actually think the front three, Dennis, Johnson and Gibbs White, can cause teams problems. So I think we might get a goal, and we might hopefully at last see a bit of fight away from home. But we'll see.
It's bizarre, isn't it? Because they've asked Cooper about it, and he's addressed it and said, look, we know we need to do better, we're working on it, blah, blah, blah. But nothing he seems to do works. There doesn't seem to be any...
No, and that's why his job's in question. I mean, I can defend him all I like, but you'd think by now he would come up with a system, even with a much changed squad, with new players. He's got them playing in a decent way at home, but away from home, you'd think his job is to get a system and a set of tactics that can get results away from home. And for one reason or another, he's had no success, and there's been no sign of improvement. It's not like we've seen it gradually get better. It's that every away game it's the same. And that's why it's hard to go, well, you can see why the owner's going, well, where's the progress away from home?
Yep.
He should be able to, by now, at least instill some kind of stubbornness away from home. If it's not, goals, at least look hard to beat. But we just don't.
Obviously, Mark watches Nottingham Forest, whether it's on TV, whether it's live. And it kind of reminds me of what he's saying there of Burnley from every single season in the Premier League, barring the last one, where I think the last one we actually did quite well away from home, and at home we were fucking god-awful. But prior to that, the 5-6 seasons prior, we at home were atrocious. I think one season we only had one win, a couple of draws, and like 13 defeats or something like that. And I think what's really difficult for the likes of Nottingham Forest and this whole bullshit about potentially, well, it is bullshit, but what he was saying there is Steve Cooper's job on the line and everything, it shouldn't be. But the problem is that the amount of money, this is the issue with football today, is that the amount of money that is put into these teams, these owners can't afford to be relegated. Whereas someone like Burnley was literally driven on a pittance, and it was the work rate and especially our home form that got us through. Whereas our away form, it was just like, well, we're away from home, whatever we get. And I, for obvious reasons, do not think that Steve Cooper should be fired. I don't think he will be fired. But this talk about him potentially losing his job, or people talking about losing his job because he doesn't win away from home, just fucking concentrate on home. Just don't worry about it. What the fuck does it matter? As long as you're getting the points at home, you're fine. But unfortunately, like I just said, without wanting to sound like a broken record, but there's too much money being pumped into Forest.
Yep. Brentford Newcastle.
So, as is going 3-0, which Nottingham Forest, Mark thinks, is going to lose 2-1. So, I know Aston Villa are terrible at home compared to away. In fact, ironically, they're another team where away from home, they're really good, but at home, it's just hit or miss. So at home, 7 wins, 2 draws, 5 losses, scored 23, conceded 19. The last 6 fixtures, at home to Bournemouth, 3-0, at home to Crystal Palace, 1-0, And then they've had a couple of losses, a 4-2 loss to Aston Villa, and I think it was to Leicester 4-2 to Leicester. They beat Leeds 2-1, and then they drew with Wolves 1-1. Whereas Nottingham Forest, on the other hand, I can't be bothered to go for their results because it is just drab. 1-1, drawn 3, lost 10, scored 5, conceded 34. I am going with Mark's prediction here. I think Aston Villa should get through this fixture. I don't know why. I think that maybe Nottingham Forest have got enough fight in the tank to get a goal here, but certainly 2-0, 2-1, something like that. Aston Villa. I think Aston Villa have enough in the tank to win. They've got a lot of confidence coming off the back of 2 wins as well. So yeah, I think 2-0, 2-1 certainly is a very realistic result, and be interested to see, obviously, how it does go when you tune in live at 3 o'clock on Saturday.
I've gone for a Newcastle win. I've gone for 2-1. You've gone for a 3-1.
Yeah. I think Newcastle at the moment look so
impressive.
Strong. Yeah, and they've got Isak and Wilson are both fighting to get in that team. So you think there's goals there. So I think that's a surefire way winning.
Yep.
Brentford are kind of seeing out the season now. They've overachieved, and they'll probably fall back to like a 9th and 10th position and settle there, and they'll be happy with that, more than happy with that.
They were so lucky against us. Just get free, and the goals they got were clever. A free kick, a corner, all that kind of stuff. But
assisted by Buemo.
Enough chances in that game.
I'm not bitter.
Comfortably.
Yeah.
Very frustrating. Fulham West Ham, we've gone.
So I'm really torn with this game. I'm personally thinking a draw. Yeah, I'm going with a 1-1. Brentford at home, 1-7, drawn 6, lost only the 1, scored 28 goals, conceded 14. Last 6 fixtures, 1-4, drawn 2. Those 2 draws was a 1-1 against Leicester, 1-1 against Crystal Palace, and the wins were 3-2 against Fulham, 3-0 against Southampton. Bit of a theme here with the teams that they're beating comfortably. 2-0 against Bournemouth and 3-1 against Liverpool. So there's a chance that Brentford could be scoring quite highly here. So hopefully, Tony, if you're fucking listening, boy, hopefully you do something in that fucking game. Newcastle, on the other hand, away from home again, they're the draw specialists. Scored 1-6, drawn 6, lost 2, scored 23, conceded 11. Last 6 fixtures are 3 draws, 1 loss and 2 wins. Obviously, the win against West Ham was just completely out of nowhere. Sorry, the 5-1 came out of nowhere. They also beat Nottingham Forest 2-1. But the loss came against Man City 2-0. Then they drew 1-1 with Bournemouth, 0-0 with Crystal Palace, and 0-0 with Arsenal. I'm going along that route. I'm going to go 1-1 between Brentford and Newcastle. I think that Thomas Frank is professional enough to just continue wanting to get the best out of his players. I don't think they're going to be dropping off, like Az has just said. They're 9th now, to be fair. They're basically battling with, I think, Aston Villa, Fulham, Chelsea, to be getting in that 6th, 7th spot. And I think Thomas Frank will want to take Brentford to the next level by, in fact, maybe Thomas Frank's thinking, do you know what, let's, to take all what I've just said back, maybe let's just have a bit of fun for the last few days, but then next season we take it to the next level and push for Europe. It's just these slow, progressive stages. But I don't think that Brentford are going to be doing too badly against Newcastle. And yeah, like I said, I think a 1-1 draw is your bet here. And will I be putting 50p on that? No.
Opposite here, I've gone for a West Ham win. You've gone for a Fulham win.
Yeah, this is Fulham without Mitrovic. When that Mitrovic band did a lot of Forest a load of good, didn't it? Because I look at this and think, with Mitrovic, Fulham win this game quite easily. Without him, it's going to be a struggle. I think Fulham have got it in them to nick a goal still, and I don't know where the West Ham goals come from. And I think you've got to look at that result against Newcastle. I think that it might impact them. So This is a very tough one to call. It's definitely Garden Centre if this was a live game. No doubt about that.
I just think there'll be some reaction from West Ham in this one, and I think Fulham's a good opponent without Mitrovic.
Oh God, yeah.
He's like you say, we know how important he is to the system, and I think West Ham will just take it. Leicester Bournemouth,
and yeah, as discussed, like we had some fucking major discussion about it. Actually, Fulham without Mitrovic aren't actually that bad. They're not too bad. You know, when you look at their opponents of late, Bournemouth away from home was always going to be very, very difficult. Man United away. When I say Bournemouth at home, I mean literally Bournemouth were at home. So Fulham away at Bournemouth was always going to be very, very difficult. They got a last-minute goal, for fuck's sake. Away at Man United in the FA Cup, always going to be difficult. At home to Arsenal, always going to be difficult. Brentford away, well, I've just discussed Brentford don't lose at home. And then they beat Leeds 2-0, and they drew 1-1 with Wolves. And my understanding is that, and that was in the FA Cup against Leeds, and Mitrovic did play in that game, whereas in the 1-1 draw with Wolves, I believe that, Mitrovic didn't play. West Ham, for me, at home against Newcastle, despite what the scoreline said, looked okay, without banging the same drum over and over and over again. They reminded me a lot like Chelsea. All creativity, but no finishing product whatsoever. Benrahma looked great. Bowen looked great. Antonio looked great. Rice looked great. But there's no one there. In fact, ironically, if you had them four behind a proper striker, goals galore. The problem is that they don't have a striker that's up there to be putting away the chances that West Ham are trying to create. I know at home that Fulham's results are all over the place. 1-6, drawn 4, lost 4, scored 21, conceded 20. Last 6 results, they lost 3-0 to Arsenal, as we just mentioned. They drew 1-1 with Wolves. They beat Nottingham Forest 2-0. They lost to Tottenham 1-0, and then they had 2 wins, a 2-1 against Chelsea and a 2-1 against Southampton. West Ham, on the other hand, away from home, are absolutely dog shite. In fact, they're almost as bad as Nottingham Forest. The only difference is that they don't concede as many. 1-1, drawn 3, lost 9. Scored 7 goals, conceded 20. These two teams, I think, are going to play out in a... I think I can just see 2-1 here, either way. And any Bowen owners out there, I would not be surprised if he returned in this match. Obviously, the statistics were showing that Benrahma doesn't really play away matches or gets many minutes. Chance he could be benched. However, if he does play, it wouldn't surprise me if he gets some form of returns. It really wouldn't, because obviously he did fuck all for me across the double game week, so he's probably going to his return this week. But I'm going to go 2-1 to Fulham in this specific fixture. I think Fulham have got enough about them to get something, but honestly, 2-1 either way. Well, 2-1 Fulham, maybe 1-1. I don't think either keeps a clean sheet, though.
Garden Centre, you've gone for a 0-0 with this one. I didn't know what to do with this one. I don't think it'll be a draw. I think one team will nick it 1-0. I've gone for Leicester.
I just think that they'll be happy to just play. I mean, Leicester need a win, don't they?
Yeah.
So I think Bournemouth, let's not lose this. And
it's a disaster if they don't win this, for Leicester.
Well, they are in trouble if they don't win that. I mean, but the thing is, Bournemouth could easily go and win that.
No.
I mean, the way Leicester are in terms of confidence, and Bournemouth are
well, like you say, it's the system. Bournemouth have got a system. They're good from set pieces. They've got Solanke up front. They know to play to him. Leicester haven't got that. It's
there's
get
no
get the ball to Maddison and hope for the best.
Yeah, and he's not doing it.
And he's not delivering. Yeah.
So I think you know, I think if anyone's going to win it, I think I'd back Bournemouth, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I've gone for 0-0.
Yeah. Spurs Brighton, I've gone for a 1.
Bournemouth are terrible. Away from home. I always want to clarify that. Away from home, they're shocking. Look, the bottom teams from away from home, the bottom teams read as this. These are the goals for. Nottingham Forest have scored 5 away from home. West Ham 7, Bournemouth 12, Everton 10. Leeds have scored quite a lot, 18, Crystal Palace 10, Wolves 11, Southampton 9. That's the bottom 13 in the away table. Bournemouth 1-2, drawn 2, lost 10, conceded 38 goals. Their last 6 fixtures are 5 losses and 1 win. 3-0 loss to Aston Villa, 3-2 loss to Arsenal. They beat Wolves 1-0, surprise, surprise, 1-0. They lost to Brighton 1-0. They lost to Brentford 2-0. And they lost to Man United 3-0. I always say this about Leicester. They always seem to be involved in 2-1 fixtures. Leicester at home are also abysmal. They score a few, but they also concede a few. 1-3, drawn 3, lost 8. Very similar to Bournemouth. They lost 4, drawn 1, lost 1. Drawn 1, won 1. They lost to Aston Villa 2-1. They lost to Chelsea 3-1. They lost to Arsenal 1-0. They beat Tottenham 4-1 in that bizarre game. They drew with Brighton 2-2, and then they lost to Fulham 1-0. I think that Leicester have got enough in the tank here to win 2-1. In my opinion, just the fact that Bournemouth are just they're both Leicester bad at home, Bournemouth bad away. So actually, maybe 1-1 is your best bet for 50p. But I'm going to go Leicester to win 2-1.
1-0 Brighton. You've gone for a 1-0. We're a better team. We're a better team than Spurs. We should win this game. We scored loads of goals away from home. We're going to put them under pressure. They won't be able to deal with it. Come on. This is it. This is a fucking massive game for us, this one. And I think we've got enough. I think we've got a better midfield. I think we've got a better attack. Defence is both pretty poor. They've got Kane, which is the
I'm
worry.
having a coughing fit because you've reached the threshold of mentions of Brighton, and so I can't take more of it.
I tried to play it off. They won't come through in the pod. But yeah, Mark was literally dying.
Coughing my heart up there. Yeah, I guess there's another one that's hard to call. I think you'll take a draw there. I just think that, yeah, you'll score first, they'll peg you back, and
that sounds likely, to be fair. I'm backing it. I'm backing the win.
I just realised what James from Planet FPL's common thing is.
Wolves Chelsea.
Right, so and then he sits back like this, doesn't he? I think so. I think this could be the one of the highest scoring games of the game week. I think this could be a 3-2 either way, and I think I'm going to go in favour of Spurs because Tottenham don't seem to do that badly at home. By all accounts, I could be completely wrong here. They've won 10, drawn 0, only lost 4, scored 29, conceded 16. Whereas Brighton, on the other hand, are very good away from home. 1-6, drawn 4, lost 3, scored 26, conceded 20. I'm not going to go through their latest results because basically they've so Tottenham at home 1-4, lost 2 in the last 6. Brighton 1-3, drawn 3. I'm going to go with a 3-2 win to Tottenham. I think this could be a really, really fun game. And again, 3 o'clock kickoff. Join me. Join me at 3 o'clock here on this channel to listen in to fucking Kane again.
I struggle with this one as well. I wanted to give it to Chelsea, but I think Wolves score at home, and then I just can't see Chelsea getting 2 at the moment. You've gone for Chelsea 2-1. I've gone for a 1-1.
I can't back Wolves to get anything from this game because I just don't want to back Wolves full stop. But
no.
After what I saw at the City Ground, I I wasn't impressed with Wolves. I wasn't impressed with them. They don't look like scoring, and they look like if you've got something about you, you can score goals against them. Forest should have scored more than one goal. Yeah, you're right about Chelsea. It's like, where are the goals coming from in that team? But I think that Wolves have got mistakes in them. So I think that they're capable of scoring 2 goals. I maybe where Wolves is. I just think Chelsea will have too much and they'll win this game. I actually think Wolves won't score now. Looking at it, I probably should have gone 1-0 Chelsea or 2-0 Chelsea. But I think Chelsea
Stealing mine, you're reading my mind, Mark.
So I think Chelsea need 2. You could be right with the 2-1. Southampton.
Because that's exactly what I'm going with. I think Lampard's now in charge. He's coming out with, I'm really wanting Mason Mount in there, and I've already looked at Mason Mount to potentially bring in. He's 7.2 though. If he had dropped down to less than 7, genuinely, I think he's worth a punt. I'm going 2-0 in this game. I'm pretty certain away from home Chelsea aren't too bad. 1-4, drawn 4, lost 6, scored only 13, conceded 18. The last 6 results don't read for good reading if Harry's listening in, and a lot of losses. They beat Leicester 3-1. They lost to Tottenham 2-0, but then again it is Tottenham away from home. They drew 1-1 with West Ham, which doesn't surprise me. They then got a 0-0 against Liverpool, which always happens. They lost to Fulham 2-1, and they drew with Nottingham Forest 1-1, whereas Wolves at home, I mean, they are fucking abysmal. 1-5, drawn 2, lost 7, scored 12, conceded 19. 3 losses, 3 wins. They lost 4-2 to Leeds. They then won against Tottenham 1-0. They then lost to Bournemouth 1-0. They beat Liverpool 3-0. They beat West Ham, we're back to form again, 1-0. And they lost to Man United. Can you guess what that score was? Use your imagination there. 1-0. So looking at that, I'm going to go Chelsea to win now, 1-0. And there's your 50p banker at 6-1, Chelsea to win 1-0.
Southampton City, both gone for comprehensive City wins. 3-0 for me, 4-0 for you.
hard to see anything else, isn't it, really?
If it was nestled around the Champions League games, you'd think maybe there could be a bit of rotation, be a bit leggy. City aren't as good away from home as they are at home. But Southampton are really poor. Just really, really, really poor. I mean, the West Ham game sums it up, doesn't it? They lose to West Ham and then West Ham get smashed by Newcastle in the next game.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, you know, Southampton, Forest, Bournemouth, if they're the 3 that go, none of them have looked like whipping boys for any sustained period of time. But you still look at them in any game at the moment and go, well, maybe not Bournemouth, but certainly Southampton and Forest at the moment, and it's hard to see how they're going to get a result. And Southampton at home to City, no. I mean, in seasons gone past, Southampton have had a bit about them and cause City problems. I think they have done in the past, but I just don't.
Well, we'll find out in a minute, Mark.
Where the goals are going to come from, and they look somewhat naive at the back, and I think they'll have far too much for them.
Yep. Leeds Palace, we got an opposite here.
I've immediately gone with a comprehensive 4-0, 4-1. Southampton, they're going to get battered here. They're going to get absolutely fucked up. Southampton at home, 1-2, drawn 4, lost 8. Scored 14, conceded 24. Last 6 fixtures, they drew 3-3 with Tottenham. They lost 2-0 to Brentford. They got a 1-0 win against Leicester. They lost 2-1 to Wolves. 1-0 to Aston Villa. 1-0 to Nottingham Forest. Man City away from home though, 1-8, drawn 3, lost 3, scored 24, conceded 12. Not the greatest of reading in the last 6 though. Only beat Crystal Palace 1-0. They beat Bournemouth 4-1, and that's on my head, 4-1. I don't know why I've got that in my head. They drew 1-1 with Nottingham Forest, but then again, Nottingham Forest are very good away from home. At home, specifically, they beat Arsenal 3-1. They lost to Tottenham 1-0, and they lost to Man United 2-1. they're going to have the Bayern Munich game in their heads, but Pep Guardiola is going to want to win this. He is going to want to send a message out there to Bayern Munich that we're not here to fuck about. Obviously, the biggest question on everybody's lips, and every time I'm on Twitter, it's, do I go Haaland? Do I go with Haaland? Do I bring Haaland in? Am I going to be one of those people that just bring in Haaland? Fuck off. If you want to bring him in, bring him in. There's nothing wrong with it. If you don't want to bring him in, don't bother bringing him in. So, I think, like I said, Man City are going to have a bit of field day, despite the fact that actually they do seem to be struggling for goals, and the fact that Southampton at home, there's a few there's only been a goal in it. This could end up only being a 1-0. Let's just have a quick history lesson here. Let's just see if Mark was right or wrong. Well, dating back to the 10th of March 2021, Man City 5, Southampton 2, Man City 0, Southampton 0, Southampton 1, Man City 1, Southampton 1, Man City 4, that was in the FA Cup, Man City 4, Southampton 0, Southampton 2, Man City 0, and that was in the League Cup. I tell you what, based on that, just based on that alone, if anybody can be bothered to put 50p on the Southampton not to lose, if that's even an available bet, Southampton not to lose for 50p, I think go for it. For 50p, I may even do it myself. I don't expect Man City to not beat Southampton for obvious reasons, just based on the history away from home, where it's been a win, a loss and a draw for Man City away at Southampton. Like I said, 50p on not to lose, but yeah, I personally think that, like I said, 4-0, 4-1, but the form and the history suggesting a tight game. Form and the history is suggesting a tight game between these two, surprisingly. So yeah, as Haz says, Leeds Crystal Palace.
For Palace, Hodgson effects, you've gone for a 1-0 Leeds.
Yeah, I like Leeds. I wouldn't want them to go down. And I think that they've looked good under the new regime. And he's playing them in a more pragmatic way. So I think they're not conceding as much as they did do under Marsh and Bielsa, of course. Palace, where the goal's going to come from, that's always a problem with them. So I think 1-0 Leeds is where it's going to go.
And then the big game of the week is Liverpool.
Tough one to call this. I think I just have a feeling these two cancel each other out in a 1-1. Maybe Leeds to nick this 2-1, 2-0. I don't think Leeds are renowned for keeping many clean sheets at home. I'm probably going to be proven wrong now. They've won 5, drawn 5, lost 4, scored 20, conceded 19. Last 6 fixtures, they beat Nottingham Forest 2-1. They drew with Brighton 2-2. They beat Southampton 1-0. They didn't score against Man United in a 2-0 loss. They drew here, right, 0-0. And they drew 2-2 with West Ham. So it's suggesting here that Crystal Palace have every chance of scoring here. They've only scored 10 goals away from home. They've won 2, drawn 4, lost 8. And last 6 fixtures they have lost 4-1 against Arsenal. They lost 1-0 against Brighton, 1-0 against Aston Villa, 1-1 against Brentford. They lost to Man United 2-1, and they lost to Chelsea 1-0. So actually this sounds like this could be a 1-0. As Mark's predicting, they're a 1-0 to Leeds. That's based on the form. Me personally, I'm going to go with a 1-1, just cancel each other out.
Arsenal. We've both gone different directions here.
Liverpool, what?
I've gone for a Liverpool win.
On the basis that Liverpool, you can't predict them and they've got the talent to do it. And
Yeah, Liverpool at home are a bit of a different animal.
yeah,
I'm backing Klopp giving a dressing down to those first team players and then reinstating them in this game. And I really want Arsenal to win the league, but I think there's going to be a slip up or two from them, whereas I don't think we're going to see that from City. and it's going to make it close. That City-Arsenal game is going to be so key. And Liverpool have the edge on Arsenal historically at Anfield, and it plays a part. The crowd are going to be up for it. It's going to be a really, really exciting game. I've just tipped it to Liverpool. I mean, going on form, obviously Arsenal are the ones you'd back, but I think there could be an upset here. I think Liverpool nick it.
Don't see it. Arsenal too good, I think. Yeah, they'll be ready for this. They'll have too much for that Liverpool defence. I think Liverpool score, and there'll be periods in the game where Liverpool are in it, but I think Arsenal will just find the killer touch more than once, and in that game, not at a canter, but I don't see Liverpool having enough to keep them out. That's the thing. It's defence.
Yeah.
It's defence. And Arsenal have certainly got enough to keep not a malfunctioning Liverpool attack, but I don't think it's a fluid Liverpool attack. Well, Arsenal, Saka, Odegaard, Jesus back, it's too good. They know what they're doing. They're going to dismantle Liverpool, I think.
We've seen it before, though. Before the United game, we both backed United to win that game, and they didn't. We've seen them against against Newcastle, sorry, and they won that game kind of in the last few minutes.
Yeah, they've got it in them. They've got it in them, but you're talking about Arsenal here, who are.
It will be a shock, but not every game can go the way we think it's going to go, and I think. Right. I think there could be an upset this week. I could be completely wrong.
In the words of Mark, I'm expecting this to be, despite the fact that away from home Arsenal don't concede goals, Liverpool score goals. In fact, this is mental. Arsenal have scored, this is away from home, 28 goals, conceded 9. Liverpool at home have scored 34, conceded 9. Liverpool's home fixtures at home beat Man United 7-0, beat Wolves 2-0, Everton 2-0, 0-0 with Chelsea, 2-1 against Leicester, and they beat, once it decides to load up here, which of course it doesn't, Southampton 3-1. Arsenal, on the other hand, away from home, I know there's quite a few clean sheets here, 1-11, drawn 1, lost 2. Last 6 fixtures, 1-5, lost 1, beat Fulham 3-0, beat Leicester 1-0, beat Aston Villa 4-2, lost to Everton 1-0, beat Tottenham 2-0, and they beat Brighton 4-2. And do you know what? There's 2 teams there that they've beaten 4-2. And these 2 teams in Aston Villa and Brighton like to attack. What do Liverpool like to do? They like to attack. Do you know what? Again, for 50p, John Harris, if you're listening in, put 4-2 down to Arsenal. Just 50p. I'm personally thinking 3-2 either way. I'll give it to Liverpool because Liverpool are at home. And as we've just discussed, Liverpool are amazing. This could be like a high-scoring 2-2. As just said, Klopp is going to put a rocket up the backsides, and they're going to be right up for it. Liverpool seem to, when it comes to the big games this season, I could be completely wrong, but at home, they do seem to turn it on. So let's just quickly look at this here, shall we? This is literally at the start of the season. So in the Community Shield, they beat Man City 3-1. They beat Newcastle 2-1. They beat Ajax 2-1. They drew with Brighton 3-3. They beat Rangers 2-0. They beat Man City 1-0. They beat Napoli 2-0. They beat... there's been the odd anomaly here or there. Wolves at home in the FA Cup 2-2, but based on the big games, they beat Everton 2-0 if you classify that as a big game. Okay, they lost to Real Madrid 5-2, but Real Madrid are like one of the best teams in Europe at the moment by all accounts. Anytime I see anything to do with Real Madrid, it's either Vinicius Jr. or Benzema. Benzema seems to be scoring hat-tricks every week, and Vinicius Jr. seems to be scoring every week. They beat Man United 7-0. So, do you know what? I'm going to go out there and go out on a whim. and say that, yeah, that Liverpool are going to win this. Liverpool are going to win this. And I'm going to go with, fuck it, 3-2 to Liverpool. I think this could be a fucking end-to-end game, and I think that maybe Klopp and Arteta potentially could get into a bit of shouty nonsense, shall we say, into each other's faces. So let's just quickly go through it. I may even write this down after this. As is thinking Man United Everton 2-0. I think I'm going 2-0. Mark's going 1-0. Aston Villa versus Nottingham Forest. I'm thinking 2-1, maybe 2-0 to Aston Villa. As is going, I can't even bloody read my own screen here, would you believe? As is going 3-0. Mark's going 2-1, agreeing with me, or I'm agreeing with Mark. Brentford Newcastle, I'm going 1-1. As is going 2-1 Newcastle. Mark's going 3-1 Newcastle. Fulham West Ham, I'm going with... I can't even remember what I said now. I think Fulham to nick this, or maybe even just get a draw, 1-1, 2-1, something like that. As is going West Ham to win 1-0. I'm going... Mark's going 1-0 to Fulham. Leicester Bournemouth, I'm predicting Leicester to win 2-1. As is going 1-0 Leicester. Mark's going 0-0 with Bournemouth. Spurs Brighton, I'm going 3-2 to Tottenham. As is going 1-0 to Brighton. Mark's going 1-1. You then have Wolves at home to Chelsea. I'm going 1-0 Chelsea. Maybe 2-0. As is going 1-1. Mark's going 2-1. He also said 2-0. Southampton Man City. As is going 3-0. Mark's going 4-0. I'm going 4-0, 4-1. Leeds Crystal Palace. I'm saying 1-1. As is going 1-0 Crystal Palace. Mark's saying 1-0 Leeds. And then Liverpool Arsenal. I'm going 3-2 to Liverpool. As is going 2-1 to Liverpool. Mark's going 3-1 to Arsenal. So, yeah, like I said, there's probably going to be a few bets that I may put down, like correct scores, just for a bit of fun. Like I said, Liverpool Arsenal to win 3-2 either way, but I'm going to go in favour of Liverpool. It's the same with the Spurs Brighton game. I think 3-2 either way, but more in favour of Brighton. And like I say, 50p on a 4-2 victory to Arsenal. What would the odds be on that be? 30-1, 40-1, 50p? It's only 50p. On that note, do want to just say thanks to anybody that is watching into this. It's just a bit of fun. Like I said, I do enjoy doing the predictions and everything. And yeah, make sure you tune in to me on Saturday. So tomorrow, 3 p.m, where we cover is it 6 fixtures? I think it is. I think it's 6 fixtures at 3 o'clock. See you later.